Our Grand Parade Investments released its full-year results a few moments ago. Joining us in Cape Town now is the company's Chief Executive, Keet, and we still have Byron Lotter with us from Vestact. Alan, good to have you with us today. Looking at your numbers, unfortunately, HEPS taking a bit of a dive from what we see, and it almost seems as though the capital expenditure regarding Burger King came as a surprise to you too, given the fact that it is turning to a hungry machine, rather.
Gugu, no, it wasn't a surprise. Thank you very much for the interview. It wasn't a surprise to us. You know, Burger King, I heard one of your earlier guests was saying that, you know, we are very aware that Domino's Pizza and Pizza Hut and a few other international brands will be joining us in South Africa in the not too distant future. And that they're going to be taking 10 years to establish themselves or to make their mark with their brand. We decided to accelerate our growth into the South African market. So the actual effect on our HEPS was not a surprise to us. We expected it.
Alan, I just left the office when the results came out, so I didn't have a good chance to look at them in detail. But will you just clarify for me, what exposure do you guys have left to the world of gambling, if any?
At the moment, nothing has really changed, Byron. At the end of the CPs, which we're expecting, hoping by the end of this year, we'll have our 75 or 74.9% of our slots business, which is decreasing down to 30% over the next year.
Does this mean that maybe you are realigning your strategy to be more focused on fast food outlets, given your 10% stake in Spur?
Absolutely. Fast food and gaming are definitely where we'll be looking to in the future. We also, of course, have still got a sports betting platform, as well as the lottery bid that we've entered.
Let's touch on that lottery bid, because from what I can tell, there are 13 million rand of costs were related to the lottery bid. Have you got an update as to whether this has been awarded to you or not?
No, we don't know yet. We're expecting the announcement by the 31st of August. There is a built-in extension for 15 days to the middle of September. And the amount that we spent was actually closer to 15 million, 14.8 million. And we don't expect to spend much more since then.
If you lose this bid, will it be a very expensive exercise in the long run?
It's certainly not an expensive exercise relative to everything else that's going on in GPI. The investment that we've made, and we intend capping it at just under 20 million rand. The investment that we've made there will stand us in good stead for other investments in the gaming industry, that we could utilize the IP that we've acquired through this investment in future.
Yes, based on your strategy going forward, I know you guys are going to be extremely busy with the Burger King, and you've got that relationship with the Sasol petrol stations, which I think is very exciting. That Burger King license, is it just for South Africa, or do you have opportunities to expand the brand throughout Africa?
We have the right of first refusal for basically 6 of our neighboring countries. And that's where we would look first. But certainly Africa, if we can get our hands on any opportunity further north into Africa, we would look at that.
Further north, you mean Nigeria?
Nigeria would, I mean, that's the biggest economy in South Africa. If we could delve into that market, we would certainly look at it.
And from your research, are you finding that they are presenting maybe a business-friendly environment, Africa as a whole?
Look, Africa as a whole, you can speak to 25 different CEOs and get 25 different opinions. We've done quite a lot of homework into Africa. I mean, one of the reasons for talking to Spur initially was to learn a bit more about their understanding into Africa, and we've spoken to other retailers that have ventured that far as well. We wouldn't do it on our own. We would certainly look for partners, both regional as well as local partners in each country that we try and venture into.
And with that stake in Spur, are you planning on leveraging off their sort of distribution capabilities? Are you going to be working hand in hand with them now?
Byron, first of all, the Spur transaction is still subject to certain conditions precedent. We're hoping that'll be fulfilled towards the end of October. But the Spur transaction is ultimately, or initially, started off as a BE transaction, and that's where we shook hands and agreed that we would partner each other. I think it's self-evident that over time there will be certain synergies that we can explore with them. It makes sense that if you're driving into the north of Africa or north of our borders and they got one truck going that way, we could use that.
I see your plan, Alan. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was Keet, Chief Executive of Grand Parade Investments.